Good afternoon to all of you. Well, in fact, good evening to East, good afternoon in Europe, good morning in America. We are back together for the roundtable of day one. And we have a very interesting panel to discuss health and safety, and beyond that in the construction sector. I have the honor to have with me today Professor Heinz Nettle, who has a very long experience in health and safety, a passionate person for health and safety, traveling around the world to share experience with us. He worked for many years with Beckebau, based in Germany, but also representing the International Social Security Association. Is traveling around the world as promoting the Vision Zero initiative, for which he spoke this morning in details. An excellent presentation, and also very informative, and but most important, something that we all can use freely. That's very important. Karl-Heinz, thank you for being with us this afternoon as well. I know it was a very busy day for you. Also, Philip Scott with us. Philip has a long experience in the construction industry, is very familiar with CDM, with what we call in, say, the continent of Europe, health and safety coordination. And he worked many years with ICOM. We have also with us today Alexandros Spiridonis. He is based in the Gulf with 20 years, if I remember well. We first met Alexandros back in 2001. So for sure, you have 20 continuous years in health and safety. Another one who is passionate about health and safety, indeed. And also from Kazakhstan, representing consolidated contracting, engineering and procurement, Elia Buyaubde. So we have an excellent team. Unfortunately, today we had two misses from in our program. However, in the era of COVID, we operate and we live nowadays. I think this is very, very limited. What I would like to do, so we don't have Philippos de Pasqualos with us. The good thing is that he's not absent for any, say, personal related issue with COVID. It's good. I would like to thank everybody for this very nice, very, very useful, very rich day in experiences, which run in 5 countries simultaneously. Because apart from the main event, we are together today, running it in English. We had parallel sessions in Albanian, Bulgarian, Romanian, Russian. So in fact, altogether, we suffered 3 changes in the program. So we feel that we were very lucky under the circumstances we live. So I don't want to talk more about anything else and pass quickly the floor to my co-panelists, starting from Karl-Heinz. I would like just a very brief introduction of yourself and the statement you would like to make in regards to our roundtable theme today, which is improving safety culture in the construction sector, exchanging ideas and industry best practices, challenges and practices. Karl-Heinz, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and I'm happy to be part of that roundtable and together with my colleagues. I think it will be a very, very interesting roundtable. My person, I think you introduced me, working in health and safety area for 38 years before being a site manager, or after being a site manager. And so I changed the side from the site manager responsible for time and costs of the construction site, but never trained for health and safety at that time. Therefore, I'm happy to, let's say, introduce these new strategy, Vision Zero, safety, health and well-being in the construction area worldwide. And it is more than a strategy, it's already a movement. More than 100 countries are following more or less the Vision Zero rules. And for example, Thailand is one of those countries who are really enforcing Vision Zero very, very much. Also in Europe, Brasilia is also a country, especially in the construction field, implementing Vision Zero and following the rules. And we have a lot of other examples. And the question is, why is Vision Zero so successful all over the world? Why are people really sucking these ideas and trying to implement it? It is simple, very, very simple. And it is an open source product. So you can load it down, the ideas, some guidelines, which will help you. And so you can implement it. You can be a trainer in Vision Zero as well. And then you will get a lot of free guidelines, support documents, PowerPoint. So it is easy to implement also in your company. And it is very effective. And maybe later on, I will give one or two examples in our discussion. So thank you very much to give this short introduction. Thank you.
Thank you, Karl-Heinz. Well, I'm not very pleased that you mentioned you have 38 years with safety, because I've got only 32. Well, okay. Phil, would you like to continue?
By all means, Georges, thank you. I too am pleased to be here. Thank you very much for the invitation, Georges, and it's lovely to meet my fellow panelists. After some 25 years working as an architect and interior designer, as well as being a project manager and cost consultant in my own practice, I spent 20 years working with AECOM as a health and safety consultant. And been fortunate enough to do quite a few interesting things, but in all honesty, nothing quite as big as some of my fellow colleagues here. What I'm particularly interested in today is discussing how under CDM, which is only 27 years old now, and we still seem to be struggling in the UK with it. I'm sure that's a common scenario throughout the world. And although the more direct and work-facing issues of health and safety are so important globally, I think it's fairly aspirational, but shouldn't be forgotten, that the role of the designer can help and should help. And I've got a couple of examples later on for us to discuss. And I think that's about me for the moment, Georges.
Thank you, Phil. Well, it's good you mentioned how old CDMs is. And I recall when it was already 10 years time after implementing the European Directive for Health and Safety Coordination, or well, health and safety at construction sites, I thought it's time to review this. So I just realized that we've got another decade, and this is the third decade, and still we haven't revised this, we haven't touched this in this country. Very interesting. Thank you, Phil.
The problem is, Georges, is that we've changed this in the UK in 2015 and given the role to the designers who I think it should belong to, but they have not really picked it up and run with it. So the people who are qualified as designers and health and safety consultants are still in the absolute minority. In 2015, there were only something like 80 or 100 of us in the whole of the UK, according to HSE stats.
Impressive. Thanks, Phil. Let's move now to the Gulf, where it's very warm, I believe. And if we have an invitation, we can jump into there for some holidays. Heinz, you would love that, I believe. Okay, Alexandros.
Yes, hello from me, from the beautiful Abu Dhabi, the UAE in the Gulf. Speaking for myself, as George said, I have only 20 years of experience, so I feel younger, much younger than the other panelists here, so I'm very proud to be in this conversation today. Thank you for the invitation, of course. Now for me, speaking for culture, what is culture? Culture is the ideas, the customs, and the social behavior of a group of people. And you know, every individual has his own values. So to develop an HSE culture within an organization, it's an action which requires the engagement from the top management and the participation of the employees. For example, speaking for my company, we have developed and implementing the Safety Builders program, which is a behavioral safety process. It will be presented tomorrow in the gala by Mr. Paolo Zabianchi. The point I would like to stress in this discussion for the program is that this is driven from the top management of the group. This is very important. This is cascaded within all levels of the organization, and this is evaluated in terms of results by measuring the lagging indicators. So this is a very useful tool to create a culture. Now, building a culture within an organization requires constant communication, interaction, and involvement of everybody. I would like to highlight the interactive way of practical toolbox talks or with demonstration for the workers, and also the importance of the HSE committee, because involving the employees in the risk assessment process and decisions make them more responsible and more active. Another good practice which I experience in a construction project is the celebration of occasions, such as milestones without lost time injury, the ILO World Day for Health and Safety at Work, and the Environment World Day. These campaigns also give the opportunity to employees and employers to celebrate together their achievements and declare their commitment for HSE. Going back to the we build to our company, in the HSE policy, one of the priorities is to promote the positive attitude in terms of HSE. So for this reason, we recognize those who are doing something more for the benefit of HSE. And we offer some certificates and gifts on a monthly basis. These are distributed in front of their colleagues for recognition and for motivation of the others. So summarizing, in my point of view, any change of culture requires three things: communication, communication, and communication. Thank you. That's all from me for the beginning.
I believe you communicated your experience very clearly. Thank you, Alexandros.
Welcome.
Eli, how is it called in Kazakhstan today?
Actually, the weather is much better now.
Okay,
It's
you
trying
see,
to become more pleasant.
There is a communication
always
also
the sunshine
between
going up.
planets. Sorry.
Yeah,
Okay.
indeed. About me, adding to my colleagues, panelists, and I have the luxury of being the youngest among you all. So as a straight flush, I have more than 12 years of experience, making me the youngest on this table. Just to add around, I mean, about the context that it has been discussed, and about establishing an HSE culture, as we do in CCEP. I mean, management commitment starts from the bidding stage, where we view HSE as not a priority. HSE and CCEP is rather a value because priorities, they change. Values are perpetual beliefs and ongoing commitments. So this concept and ideology starts from the bidding stage down to the execution, where we tend to utilize mainly the HSE as a major key and tool allowing for further sustainable development. In a sense, like measuring our KPIs like Alexandros mentioned, to achieve the synergy between the economical, environmental, and the social aspect. Kazakhstan is a beautiful country. The main challenge we experience is, as you all know, might be the harsh weathers, similar like the Gulf, but opposite on the thermometer. So we reach towards -50. And throughout my experience, I have always been striving to collaborate with professionals like you, Mr. Panopoulos, and others in efforts to raise the bar of HSE, to learn from each other, all of us, and to utilize some innovative tools from the EPC mega projects. My experience mainly is on very big projects where contract values are very big, especially the manpower numbers. We've been utilizing something called OGT, which is on-the-job training. So rather than maneuvering and mobilizing a big number of workforce from site to our training center, we reversed the procedure, where we are deploying our trainers to provide on-the-job trainings in efforts to keep the HSE message and the values of the owners of CCC and the managing director of CCEP in Kazakhstan towards HSE is a value rather than priority, always alive on our project. That's it from my end.
Thank you, Eli. I think we had a good insight from 4 different places of the world. And Karl-Heinz, I come back to you because Alexandros said everything starts from the top. And also, it was Eli who said, talking about values. So I know you are passionate with this, may I say, one of your babies, because Vision Zero looks to be something like that. So how do you put this together when you try to convince people to use Vision Zero initiative?
Yeah, Alexandros said, I think it was Alexandros, regarding commitment of the top. If you don't have commitment from the leaders, nothing will change. You need the commitment. And I remember a company in Belgium, a construction company, the board decided that the CEO has to go to the family if a fatality or a severe accident will happen, because these CEOs were not committed. After going to the family twice, they were committed, because it's not nice to tell the women, your man died in my company. And they were committed and everything changed. So the commitment is important, but also to respect the value of your workers. They know the problems. If you talk to them, they feel also committed in the whole process, and they feel they have a value because you need the workers. And if you look to the rules, and you will find a lot of these things you explained, Alexandros. It is in these rules, in the detailed descriptions. And the most important 2 rules are commitment of the rulers, of the leaders of a company, and invest in the people. Talk to them and try to find the problems and discuss it with them. These, for me, are the main rules, rule number 1 and number 7. And therefore, I think the value of a company is also the value of the workers. And if they feel well, we have also well-being in the Vision Zero. If they feel well, they work totally different. And as you said, Eli, you have problems with minus temperatures. We had also a project with workers in cold water. They have to work in the water up to here. And we said, okay, the well-being was not quite good because water went in and then they start to freeze and they went out. So there was an interruption of the work of 2 hours. Then we said, there is a wonderful device using in North Pole and South Pole. It is a special underwear produced in Sweden. And we gave it for free for some of the workers. And they said, after 1 day, it is like in my living room. It is warm. And if water comes in, it is still warming me. So maybe could be an interest for you, Eli, to give you that product name and then you can buy it. You know, well-being is also a big issue. And if you respect the workers, this is also a part of well-being, but we have also other tools to do it. So I think to discuss Vision Zero in more detail, maybe in a different conference, it would be helpful. And I said to you, I think to Ilya and to Alexandros, but also for Philip, if you like to get some presentations for that, or if you have a conference, I'm willing to come and to talk about it after the pandemic for sure. And hopefully it will end the year. It is so easy. Also, we have discussions in India, in other countries in that area, but also in South Africa, in North Africa. All people like it because it's simple to understand. And everything what you said, Alexandros, you will find in that Vision Zero. And so you don't know Vision Zero maybe, but you are working in line with Vision Zero already. And then people feel, wow, he is doing the same like I do in North America. And the other one in Thailand, for example, you will say, wow, they are doing the same. And this is the strength of these, I would say, movement in the world. We are doing the best we can. And now we see others do the same. And if you have this roof, Vision Zero, it's so easy. Maybe 1 minute, Georgios. I had a Vision Zero t-shirt from Thailand. And I was in Venice at the big marketplace. And there was a shop. And I came to the shop and with a Vision Zero t-shirt because the other one was dirty. I took this one. And there was a guy from North America. He said, hey, my friend, you are a Vision Zero guy. And that was such a nice feeling for me that Vision Zero is connecting people. And that, I think, is also the strength of Vision Zero. And I'm so happy that I could give this message all over the world. It's coming from my heart. It's not business. It's trying to change something, as you do as well in your organization and in your company.
Thank you, Heinz. And perhaps many people are listening to us, they realized that indirectly you have connected already the Vision Zero initiative with the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals.
Yes.
That means goal number 3 for well-being and health. And you gave a very good example. And also respect people, which is people to have a decent work. Because if you work somewhere and they don't respect you, what kind of, well, I'm not talking about safety, but respecting you, respecting you as a person. So if they respect, they will protect you. Excellent. And I noticed that Phil was naming all the time you were talking, Heinz, yes, that's it. So what I would like, because you see, Phil here has the experience being an architect, working from, say, those they want to design and construct, and then jump to the, well, to our area, those they focus on safety. So, and Karl-Heinz said that, yes, we want the strong commitment from the top management, and gave an excellent example. So have you experienced such cases that the commitment was not that strong, and finally there were some consequences? I'm sure you have.
Asking me? Are you asking me or the panel?
No,
Phil.
I'm asking
Phil.
Phil.
Okay.
Phil. If you go on.
My apologies, Georgios. Yes, I did have a client for a number of years who I was particularly closely connected to, who will remain nameless for the moment. and I was very, very heavily supported from the top down. And unfortunately, after a period of time, there was a significant change in the management, and that support wasn't as valued, shall we call it. And I think that they have struggled as a result. And it's a shame, because they really were exceptional at running things. And one of the things that I've seen over the years is where the contractor has adopted the role of principal designer, but because they have a very difficult job in balancing cost and benefit, when they have this combined role, they are torn between the two. And that is because I think there is a doubt sometimes that health and safety brings financial benefits, because I think most clients would be really interested to know what benefits they bring. Now, can I try my share of screen at this point?
By all means, please.
Okay. Press the share screen, and I've got a little table up here which is called Money Saving Ideas in Health and Safety. Hopefully you can see that, gentlemen.
Yes, we do see that.
Brilliant. Well, this is just a selection of items that I felt that by nature of design, we brought something reasonably special to the project. It wasn't earth-shattering, we didn't save millions of pounds, but we made significant contributions. And there is a chimney tower that was constructed at Chester Zoo while they were building the new ape house. And if I can show you the nature of what they were going to construct, this is quite a substantial access tower. I think you can see the nature of it. This is the tower, this is the way up, this is the additional steps up, and this was simply to change light fittings. Now, if ever there was an area where this was a great idea, but you can in fact only get to it from the very top of the tower, and that makes it very difficult to construct this arrangement in lots of different occasions. So if I can pop that down again, what we did, we found a way to remove the complicated access and use pulleys, electrically operated pulleys, to raise and lower the light fittings. And obviously the pulleys do eventually need maintenance, probably annually. They need changing perhaps every 3 to 5 years, but then you can build a purpose-built scaffolding, you can go and do that. So there wasn't the cost of building the staircase, the platform, the cover, the hatches. There was a saving of at least £11,000, but it also brought a different mental attitude. Don't just build something to solve your access issues. Think outside the box. Did you all see that?
Yes, we do.
Brilliant. And then there was another project. Now, this is a little bit more interesting. There were 3 blocks, 3 fingered blocks on this arrangement, with an atrium in between each one. And there was only really one way into the site, and we had to organise the traffic to run all the way around to get a one-way traffic system. We had lay down areas at the sides, and the site was really, really constricted. What I thought when we started to design this arrangement, and this was done at the early concept stage, and that's what's frequently forgotten when people come to consider the health and safety implications of the buildings they're working on. It tends to be an afterthought. I've finished the design, oh, there's CDM to do. And that is far, far, far too late. If you look at things at the very beginning and look at working with the architects and his almost bubble drawings as to where he's coming from, you can start to influence them. And this is where I think being an architect has given me the privilege of being able to talk to other architects and designers in their own language from a position of almost authority, because I'm, you know, the same beast, and an area where I possibly gained some advantage influentially over the design. And what I suggested here was, let's make the gap between the buildings bigger. Well, originally, we only had enough room, a couple of meters for, well, actually not quite right. It was about 5 meters for the atrium. And we made it bigger. We made it 10 meters. Now that seems to be a big step up, but actually what it allowed us to do was accommodate more people in one atrium and have a thoroughfare through for servicing the buildings. And that allowed us to use one crane, create an area here where the atrium's only used for haul road and deliveries. It's a 6 meter road, which is a normal road width, with 2 meters of scaffolding. And this allowed the 3 buildings to be all built at the same time, rather than this arrangement, which would have meant we would have to have done one building at a time. So again, the potential savings for something like that were simply lots of money, not to mention the program and those other sorts of costs. We also lost the cost of one tower crane, which at the time, around about 2004, was in the region of £1,500 a week for 40 weeks. This is £60,000 saving. Okay, the building in total at that time was about 22 million. But it's the little things that you gain and the safety that you gain by organising the building to be properly thought out from the beginning. I had another scenario here where we had to construct a scaffold.
Phil, if you allow me, I think that's very indicative, because all I'm concerned is about answering also the questions we received from the audience, if you don't mind.
Oh, right, okay.
And I believe we picked up your point that safety can make money. You need a cooperation across your organization, but not only across your organization, but anyone to be involved. And safety starts from the conceptual design, goes through the design, to detailed design, to construction. And at the end of the day, whatever you have designed, this is what you inherit to the operators. And all the mistakes you make, then they have to live with that, or to pay much more money to mitigate the risks.
Absolutely. And that's the problem where developer or contractor-led developments, they miss that trick sometimes.
I would like, because I know that Alexandros works with people coming from different places of the world, different cultures, has been in big construction sites and had to work with different people, different languages, different cultures. So we have here a question, yes, a general question about the cultural development. We have workers coming from everywhere in the world and with completely different ways of thinking. Can you please comment on this and give your opinion on how we can cope with this?
Well, certainly in the
UK.
UK.
Phil, for Alexandros, if you don't mind.
Not a problem.
Not a problem for me. Phil is talking nicely. I enjoy also hearing him. Feel free. Really, I mean it. From my point of view, what I can say is that the values, the intrinsic values of individuals are the same. Are, let me say, regardless the religion, regardless the age, regardless the tradition, the education, the gender, the intrinsic values are the same. What happened actually when we enter in our construction site? We close the door. behind us, excuse me, and we forget them. The problem is that how to remind these people for these values, that they count for them and they count for us. From independently where is working somebody, is a top level, medium level, bottom level, whatever. We have the same values. This is the message we have to convey, and this is what we have to remind our people. Leave the door open. Don't close the door when you enter to do the job. This is my point of view.
Thank you, Alexandros. And now, what we have here, Ellie, do you have you came across the situation that the employees were not very much interested in listening to you? Because if you had such a case, then you will ask, this answer will be thankful for recommendations how to build safety culture in the company. There are workers who are not interested in their safety.
Yes, we always, as HSE professionals, encounter the main slogan of, like, we have always been doing it this way. So us as expertise, I believe, and based on our experience, is to play on the psychosocial and behavioral aspect of the workforce. Honestly, we had very similar cases, mainly within the prevention of COVID lately, where part of the culture is like our culture in Greece or in Lebanon, you know, greeting by hand and kissing. So for some people, it's not very acceptable, you know, to leave it behind. One of the shock trainings that we utilized was knowing that such a group, they like playing football or any other sports. So I showed a presentation to almost 1,000 people, showing them a crippled father watching his son playing football rather than being engaged. So in my experience, I mean, hitting into the core values of the workforce and showing them what is the ultimate benefit of complying with safety for the benefit of their communities, their personal safety, and their families, this will make a big difference.
Thank you, Eli. Perhaps now I would like to share with you what I'm saying to people about using their mobile phones when they drive. Our company does not allow our people to take calls when they drive, even if they have hands-free or whatsoever. No calls. You just find a place to park safely and call back. End of story. Nothing can be that urgent that you can give the solution in seconds or minutes before, because you're driving. You can't help that much. If it's a piece of information, we'll give the information in 5 minutes time, 10 minutes time. And believe me, it's very, very relaxing, because I use hands-free myself some years ago. Okay, yes, I did it. So what I'm saying to people, well, they said, but our country allows to have hands-free and talk, and also the cars have built in the system. All right, I say, do you have children? Yes, I do have children. Very good. How old are they? Okay, we build the case and say, all right. So your child drives the car, you call your child, you speak with your child, and you hear boom, and no voice. What is the reason? Why to live with this? What's the benefit? My child, you see my call, okay, stop when you can and call me. Because you do not interrupt when you are in a meeting, because your company does not allow to stop the meeting and speak with your parents, but you do it when you drive, and you can cause an accident. Right. Heinz, back to you, because we have a question. Okay, we talk about construction, but what's the matter? Sometimes, well, construction itself is not only the site, we need the logistics, for instance. We need all the people across the supply chain. So all across the supply chain should keep the same values, same priorities or goals. So the question is, how can we use all this we discuss here in other areas like logistics? So how can we use the Vision Zero tool in logistics or somewhere else?
So the Vision Zero tool, or the 7 golden rules, they are not related to construction only. They are related to all industries and all ISA sections. And we have 14 sections. So for all in the whole industry range is covered by these sections. They all are using Vision Zero. So also the trade, ISA trade. So as you are talking about transportation or logistics, so ISA trade is using Vision Zero as well. So it is that the basic rules are the same for all industries. Only you have to make some specific rules in the next, let's say, area. So cascade, you have the main ones, and then you come to a little bit more specific, and then to very detailed ones. And all ISA sections are working on that. Most of them can provide you already these branch-related tools, so that you can use them also for logistics or transportation. And supply chain is a separate project. It starts some weeks ago for all ISA sections. So ISA in total are working on these very, very important issue, because you remember the problem in the Suez Channel. One ship blocked everything. All the supply chain got problems, and still they have problems because material was not coming directly to the harbors and so on and so on. So Vision Zero can be adapted to all areas. Have a look to the rules, and then if you are coming, let's say, from supply areas, you can go to ISA transport and then, or ISA trade. Then you can take their information, you can take their details, and then you can implement Vision Zero. And this is the strength of Vision Zero. For example, I was in hospital, and the chief guy there said, "Oh, I have so many problems." And then I said, "Why are you not using Vision Zero?" He said, "What is Vision Zero?" Then I explained it to him, and 3 months later, they used Vision Zero for the hospital. So it is so simple. All these rules are for all industries, and you can implement it simply. So this lady or man who asked the question, look at the rules. They are free. You can load it down and check it, and then try to go to that ISA sections where you belong to, and then you can contact them if you have questions, if you need more information. It is an open source product, and this is, I think, also the strength of Vision Zero. You don't have to pay for it. That's it. Yeah.
So, Kostas, I think you've got your answer from Heinz very clearly. And we have another very interesting question that, well, we speak about construction, and the question from Paolo is about the seatbelt, because we work in different countries where perhaps even seatbelt is not mandatory. If you allow me, I will say my experience with TAP, Trans-Adriatic Pipeline Project. When we joined the project, they said, you will not drive a car. Sorry, no, you have to have drivers. All right, what is behind that? Let's make an analysis. To cut the long story short, where people in the project coming from different places of the world, we don't know what is the local traffic rules, regulations, what is the local conditions. We're not familiar with this. So we hire experienced drivers who can deliver this product, taking us from place to place safely, fast, and we spend our time as supervisors, engineers, or whatsoever, and focus in what we are doing, not driving cars. So coming to the approach that Phil developed before, the examples he gave, this approach of having people safe, keeping them safe, really brings money. Because I realized when I had a driver, I was making my job, which costs 10 euros, and I use a driver whose job costs 9 euros. If I had to drive, I wouldn't make this euro, this penny. And since then, we do the same, especially when we go to other countries. So yes, seat belt is very minimum, I would say, and not only seat belt, but 5-star cars should be used to protect your people, Paolo. I know that in some countries might be a little bit difficult, but you have to fight for that, and convinced with all the exams and making your financial case towards having a better safety standards in road safety. If somebody wants to add to that, yes, please, Heinz.
One statement. In Germany, a long time ago, like in other countries in the European Union, it was mandatory. Once it was mandatory to use safety belt. In the first year, nothing changed because there was no punishment not using the safety belt. Then 1 year later, it was 50 Deutschmark at that time as punishment. In the second year, we had 50% less fatalities on the roads, 50%. So you see, sometimes you need also punishment. This is human being. It doesn't matter where. Sometimes you need also punishment. And 50% less. There were thousands of people less died because of the 50 Deutschmark at that time. Maybe that could be an argument as well to convince politicians to work on that.
I think what you're saying there, Carl, both on the CEO who has to talk to the family of the man who's died, and the fines for not wearing the seatbelt, enforcement is an absolutely critical tool in getting your Vision Zero to work. And it sounds terrible in a world where we're not allowed to tell anybody you're doing it wrong anymore. It is refreshing to hear you say that it has to be done this way.
Thanks, thank you both. Eli, I think you spoke less, which is very unique. Normally you speak more than any other one. I'm not talking about this panel, but all right. So you have the chance to comment what you have heard from all of us.
Thank you for this luxury. Indeed, it is the first time I speak less. You know, it was very interesting discussion, and the Vision Zero initiative is a very interesting initiative that definitely, and I promise you, Professor, I will go look into it and read more. Eventually, what caught my attention is like you rightfully said, I mean, it's a standardized heading or hub that includes all the activities that we all as HSE experts have been doing under one initiative, which I believe this will contribute further to increasing the benchmark of HSE and raising the bar to save more lives, more people. Phil, I like the idea of the design and the involvement of HSE and the initiatives. We had a very similar we had a very similar activity that we've done here on the highest tower within Central Asia, where we installed a similar design to a temporary firefighting system that is harmonized and made adaptable to the DOCA system. And it was the first time in the world as per DOCA, as per DOCA technical expertise and statements. Alexandros, I think we shared somehow the same views. You are on the other side of the thermometer towards plus, we are in the negative. It is very interesting. I mean, our small discussion behind the scenes, I will take it live, and I was discussing with the gentleman, like saying maybe we got used to working on mega projects, mega APC, mega contract values, mega number of people. It takes us a little bit, despite the fact that it drains us technically, but it's always a challenge because the risk is always dynamic. When we talk about construction, my views is that this is the most dangerous industry, or one of the most dangerous industries, where anything you might implement in construction might be applicable throughout the supply chain through Vision Zero, because construction has a dynamic risk. I mean, every day you wake up on a new risk, on a new challenge. Thank you very much all for all the insights. I really enjoyed it. And I mean, I'm sure this under management force umbrella will become into a more fruitful development of benchmarking further the HSE standards towards saving more lives, saving investments, money, and our humankind and environment.
Eli, what you said last about saving lives is really very important. And I believe that there are a lot of our colleagues playing the role of the safety practitioner or safety experts that they do not realize that. And I keep saying to my people, what you're doing is very important. Can you imagine that in your life, you may have saved one life? Really, that's the best
Indeed,
it could happen to one's life.
gives a
Save
sentimental
one life.
value. Yes.
Thank you, Eli.
Thank you.
And we've got another very nice question here, very interesting. What is the most important key tool of the top management for the implementation of the safety policy? Whatever this is, as a top priority in the construction companies, in conditions like the one, particularly now, we all experience with COVID. Who would like to answer this question?
I'll try.
All right.
I think that no matter how big the construction company is, whether it's a multidisciplinary company capable of multi-million-pound projects, or whether it's a scaffolding company, the senior management must fight, and it is very difficult, to ensure that suitable resources are built into the cost of doing the job. I hear all sizes of companies saying, well, particularly the small ones, and of course any construction project is made of lots of small companies, saying, if I allow for the right compliant approach and the right health and safety protection for my men, I will lose work because the other people will come in cheaper than I do. And I think that's something that everybody wants to do, but is frightened by the concept of losing work. The client has the responsibility to ensure in law that suitable provision is made for the resources for health and safety. Very, very few people challenge whether the client has bothered to do that. But I think in an ideal world, it should be done. And it is the only way that the playground or the playing field can be level. And I have a very bold vision in that health and safety can equalise the world if that is adopted? Sorry to go on a bit, hopefully it's okay.
I would fully agree, but before I do that, I noticed that Heinz was so much agreeing with what you were saying. I'm not saying that the others were not, but Heinz, you would like to add something to that?
Yeah. In rule number 3, we are talking about the client involvement and give some ideas in our guides. But this is really a core issue. On the other hand, if we talk about the leadership and the demonstration of commitment, I think managers should demonstrate safety and health and set standards and serve as a role model. That's I think it's very, very important. And as you said, the owner client is ultimately responsible for safety. If you look to the rules or to the laws, it is mentioned there. And I know also court cases where the owner was put to court and put to prison because he didn't fulfill his legal obligations. I can talk about Europe regarding this issue. Other countries have other rules, but for example, in India, although they don't follow the law there very clearly, but they have it in their law as well in India. They changed it some years ago that the owner is responsible for health and safety. And so sometimes enforcement is weak, let's say, and also this should be more enforced, but this is a political issue, and we can talk about it the whole evening with a beer, and then we will find a lot of interesting examples, I have to say.
Now,
thank you.
Heinz, if it's to talk about this, should not continue now. Let's have a full day. An evening will not be enough.
It would not be enough, but would be nice exchange of experience. I have so many stories about lack of enforcement for laws in the countries, and I think you will have the same as well. But okay, this is a political issue.
Indeed. Alexandros, would you like to comment on that? To add something?
No.
Ellie?
Thank you.
You are muted.
Indeed, I would like, this is very interesting, yes. And I believe utilizing the HSE management system and its key performance indicators is a very useful tool towards allowing for further business development. There is no client in the world, based on my experience, that would like to have death recorded on their names. Neither an HSE manager, nor a contractor, nor a consultant. So utilizing the performance of your HSE management system towards allowing for further commercial growth and attraction of new contracts towards business development, I think this is one of the major keys and tools towards growing further your system, and that would brings a return over investment for contractors over the investment implemented in HSE, whether resources, plan, management systems, automated business tools and softwares, and anything that will enhance the development of their performance.
Thank you, Ali. I've got another question. If punishment is also another tool, and the question is that when you mention, gentlemen here, Heinz and Phil, primarily you two, that, well, it's a client's issue. If the client decides, we can answer this question in a way like, well, if the client has decided what is the policy, simply there is no punishment. You are not allowed on site. End of story. Thank you very much. No punishment. Or enough, we've got enough from you, you leave the project. End of story. So everything is at the hands of the client, but the question is, every single client is that well developed, has such a clear safety policy has the culture, has the tools to do this, it becomes more complicated. What, Phil? You move here, there, but what's the answer then? You are mute.
I think we're looking for the Holy Grail. It is very, very difficult to get all clients to adopt health and safety as a serious priority. But unless we keep trying, unless we keep banging the drum, we may never achieve it. And punishment isn't something that I would agree with handing out willy-nilly. I think that a red card, yellow card, red card type scenario, where people get a warning, go for further toolbox talks, and then if they continue to misbehave, then maybe their contract is terminated. And there is provision within the methods and complications of contract law now, where a contractor who misbehaves should be made responsible for any variation or additional costs that the client may incur in recruiting an alternative contractor or subcontractor. And that would give the client, I believe, a little bit more comfort in that he might actually get his money back if he terminates an employment situation. But he must first work with the people to offer them suitable training and assistance. And that means allowing enough time, which is another problem altogether.
Thank you, Phil. Thank you. Well, we have now talking about respect of the employees and goal number 8, to respect our technicians of the technicians of Aero that support this event. I asked them kindly to extend, and we have extended by 20 minutes. So if you agree, I will read a statement made or a comment made by Evangelos Pyknis, a person with long experience in construction, and then we can conclude with this. I know that we can continue for hours. What I do like about this panel with you gentlemen is that we didn't say, do this, do that. We share views. Everybody can use them in the way they think is the best, can combine, can change, adapt, and this is what is important. I also believe that most of us are available to answer any questions, and questions may still coming, and then we will answer. So I'll read what Evangelos wrote here, and it's quite long. Before that, I would like to thank you very much. It was an honor for me. It was a great pleasure to be with you this afternoon. And tomorrow we will continue, we will start at 10 o'clock, the morning session, and we will continue until the same day. So Evangelos wrote, punishment or penalty, considering that in majority of construction projects, companies hire temporary workers. Our aim is to train, communicate, and achieve compliance to set rules. The soft approach of building culture lies with the contractor company primarily. The short duration of assignment and the diverse client portfolio in which contractor workers are engaged does not provide a consistency in building positive behaviors. Therefore, penalties should be considered for non-compliance, along with rewarding for positive behaviors in a balanced way. Well, still there are more questions coming. Gentlemen, thank you from my heart. It was very nice, and look forward to meet again.
Likewise, thank you very much, Mr. Panopoulos. Thank you for Management Force. Thank you, dear colleagues. I mean, I hope to see you tomorrow I have a presentation as well about developing HSC culture and titled Insights from the Tallest Tower in Central Asia.